As a boss, are you a good leader? Do you listen to the people you manage? If you're interested in improving in this very area, well, today you've stumbled upon the right place because, according to Forbes, only 35% of today's employees are inspired by their bosses. Furthermore, approximately a quarter of respondents say that they could do a better job of leading their teams than their boss. Also, about 1 in 5 employees, or 17%, say that their boss takes credit for work which they've performed. And finally, just over a third of respondents, 35% of female employees, feel comfortable challenging their boss's ideas at work. Laura Noel leverages universal laws, neuroscience, and psychology to help leaders of organizations live fulfilling lives while also maximizing their potential. She's an organizational development consultant, leadership coach, and senior consultant with the Arbinger Institute. She's finally a best-selling author and podcast host. And prior to launching her business, Stretch into Success, she served in the United States Air Force for more than 27 years, rising to the rank of Chief Master Sergeant. She spent part of her Air Force career teaching more about personal growth, development, and leadership. The strength and diversity of perspective is a competitive advantage. And as we come to the end of National Disability Awareness Month, I took some time out at the end of the week to have a conversation with Laura about effective leadership development, organizational development, creating a winning culture, and so much more. It's a conversation. If you're in leadership, you cannot afford to miss. So, without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Laura, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to learn all about your career in organizational development and leadership. Great to see you this afternoon, and happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday! So glad to be here.
Well, it's the best day of the week on the calendar, isn't it?
It totally is.
And can you believe we're already 3 months into the year already, huh?
It has flown by, for sure.
Absolutely. And Laura, tell me that you work with people on their organizational development journey and leadership and everything in between. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about sort of the 360-degree view of your life and what makes you so fabulous.
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. Thank you. So like you mentioned, what I do is I help individuals and organizations get clarity in their purpose and their goals, communicate more effectively, and I help them become more productive in less time by leveraging all aspects of their mind, their team, so that they can perform a lot better and just enjoy the journey. I've been doing this work for over 20 years. I was in the Air Force for 27 years. Right before I retired in 2017, I was a commandant of a leadership school for first and second line supervisors. So leadership and teaching that and facilitating classes in that realm has been something that I've been very passionate for a long time with. And I feel really blessed to be able to make this my life's work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Laura, tell me, what do you think when you hear the term effective leadership? What does effective and transformational leadership mean to you?
To me, when I think about effective leadership, I think about leaders who first and foremost are able to lead themselves first before leading others. And what I mean by that is, I think many of us listening, and I know I've experienced this too, leaders where they just are not in control of their emotions, their decision making, they're maybe influenced by the circumstances at hand or the last person who spoke to them. They're not really thinking, they're allowing circumstances to drive their behaviors. And so I think effective leadership is, yes, you want to take in what's going on in your external circumstance to understand what's happening. Yes, you want to get diverse perspectives on strategy and moving forward and get a firm understanding of how decisions are going to impact everyone, stakeholders and all. But you also want to be able to tap into your imagination, your intuition, your memory, your will, your perception. Those are your mental faculties. And so you want to have those leading the way as opposed to those external circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Laura, I don't know if you know this, but March is also National Disability Awareness Month. And I don't know how much reading you did up on me, but I have spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. I was born with the condition. It simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. But outside of hosting this podcast, Laura, I also work with organizations to amplify the hiring of folks with disabilities. So tell me about the importance of infusing folks with disabilities into the workforce and how important do you think it is to celebrate the contributions of individuals with disabilities?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think having diverse perspectives is so essential. And so bringing people into the fold who are different and have unique abilities and skill sets and really learning about them and leveraging them, I think that's a gift for any organization. And I think it's an important gift.
Absolutely. There's strength and diversity of perspective, isn't there?
Yeah, there absolutely is.
Absolutely. Now, I know that you also leverage universal laws, neuroscience, and psychology to help leaders live a fulfilling and prosperous lives and also maximizing their potential. So what does it all mean to you to maximize potential, and why is this work so important to you?
Yeah, I think no matter how successful we are, and I'm saying that in air quotes, if we're only using our grit and pushing through and kind of working hard, being in the grind all the time, only using our analytical mind, I feel like there's a part that we're not leveraging. And so that's what I mean when I say I help people maximize their potential, because I help them tap into other aspects and ways of thinking and leveraging their mind and their brain so that they can tap into creativity. I'm thinking about when we are facing challenges that are technical in nature, we need, technical solutions. But most of our challenges these days, being in global organizations, are adaptive in nature. So we need to be able to tap into our creativity, or at the very least, surround ourselves with diverse people, opinions, so that we can tap into our collective creativity and really tackle adaptive challenges. And that's how we maximize our potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, I'll tell you that I originally went to school to become a sports reporter. So the idea of diverse communications is important to me. And I know that you're a best-selling author and a podcaster. So I'm curious about to get your thoughts on the importance of diversifying the way that we communicate with people, because it's most important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Not only in the different platforms we're communicating on, but different ways that we can get that same message out in different formats to support different people. That way a multitude of people have access to what you're trying to share and help people with.
Well, because people consume information in all types of different ways, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Absolutely. So, Laura, tell me, what do you think it means to have empowerment for women as we come up on the end of Women's History Month as well?
Yeah, when I think about empowerment for women, I think I'm thinking about my career as I grew up in the military and being not a very large number of women in the military, let alone the top ranks in the military. And I definitely used my grit and determination to get to those spaces. However, one thing that we didn't really talk about back then, which I'm glad we're talking about now, is the feelings of imposter syndrome and how we can sometimes get in our own way. And because we don't often think, if we look, I know when I would look at a position or a leader, I would hold myself back from certain positions because it didn't look like the image that I had in my mind of what a leader should look like or sound like or act like. So I think that women's empowerment, or empowerment in general, is about overcoming some of our own mindset traps that are keeping us stuck, and also trusting ourselves to be authentically ourselves in our leadership and our roles, and owning it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Laura, if I gave you, say, $1 million to create a movie about effective leadership and thriving organizations and really developing a winning culture, what do you think a roadmap looks like to creating that movie of inclusion and the first steps to include thriving organizations? How do you think we develop those?
I love that question. And I'm really involved in Arbinger's work, and I love it. It's very simple, and I've been studying personal development and mindset for many years. And in the recent years, just starting with seeing people as people and getting really curious about their needs, their challenges and objectives, and doing your work in a way such that takes others into account. I mean, we understand this intellectually, but to actually practice it and do it in your daily work, it's magical, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up before you started your business. Your business. You've spent some time in the service, teaching people about personal growth and development in that space. So tell me about your time in the service, some of your best memories, and how do you think it really propelled your business career?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the best times, and it's so funny that you're asking me this, because I was recently thinking about leadership and motivation in the context of functional neuroanatomy. That's one of the classes I'm in right now in college. And I was thinking about the teams that I've been a part of. Either I've been a part of or I led the teams, but I had a boss over us. We felt empowered. We had autonomy, and we made sure that everybody had a voice in that team, in that group. So I think that we had a mission, we had a focus, we had autonomy, we felt like we had purpose and like we mattered, and we listened to one another. We all had input.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It really does.
Absolutely. And Laura, we talked earlier about infusing folks with disabilities into the workforce, but on a more broader sense, what do you think inclusive workplaces and cultures should look like in today's society?
I think inclusive workplaces and culture should, one, of course, see people as people, normalize, I guess not really make stand out any accommodations that need to be made, but normalize them. So they're not accommodations. It's just the way it is. So people feel welcomed and valued, and they have what they need to bring out the best in the skill sets that they have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a large part of your work is helping organizations maximize effectiveness, alignment, and impact. So tell me, what do you think is sort of the key to touching all of those points effectively within an organization?
Okay, so maximizing effectiveness. What were the other two that you said?
Alignment and impact.
Oh, effectiveness, alignment, and impact. I think when an organization determines their values, sometimes we can have espoused values, aspirational values that we say are important, but it's really important to make sure that not only are we saying these values or writing them down in words, but the artifacts within the organization, how we show up, what's important to us in our actions. We want to make sure that those things align. And when we are aligned, we're more likely to create an impact that's also in alignment with how we want to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laura, I know that you worked with the late Bob Proctor, and you're also a PhD candidate in the field of leadership and psychology. So talk to me about your constant thirst for knowledge and learning, and how Bob impacted your life.
Oh my goodness. I've always had a thirst for learning, always. So I've always thought education was very important. And it's something that I pursued throughout my military career. And even taking on different jobs within the military, it was always exciting for me to learn a different skill set or the different roles within an organization. If I wasn't growing, I felt like I would get bored really quickly. So I would always look for something that kind of tugged at my curiosity, and I would follow that path. It wasn't that I was like pulled in all these different directions, but I made sure that when I was learning something, it was helpful with what I was also working on too. But that's how I came to meet Bob Proctor, was when I was pursuing my personal growth and taking some personal development seminars. I actually met him at a seminar, and it was when I was searching for my purpose. When I was serving as a leadership school commandant, I was taking yoga teacher certification at the time, and I met him at the event, and I just said, "How do you know when you found your purpose? I have all these degrees and certifications. I'm following my curiosity, but I'm getting tired." And he said, he asked me a few questions, and he said, we have something I think you would really enjoy and be really great at, and let's connect after the seminar. And so we did. I was planning on retiring from the Air Force in 3 years, but after we connected, I ended up submitting my retirement in 3 months, and I started working with him as a Proctor Gallagher consultant, teaching what I'm learning in my PsyD program too. He knew so much about the mind, but that connection with the mind and universal laws. I mean, my life did a complete 180 after I met him.
Absolutely. He was an impactful figure for a lot of people, wasn't he?
Yeah, he truly was.
Absolutely. And Laura, you sparked me to ask you about, the concept of being a continual learner and how important it is because, no matter how many degrees you have or level of education, you can always learn something from someone else. So tell me about the importance of always being a curious learner and what does that mean to you?
I think we're as spirit in a body, we're meant for growth and expansion. And I am a firm believer in following my curiosity as kind of a vehicle for driving where my next learning will happen and take place. I'm curious about people. You can be a learner no matter, you don't have to necessarily embark on a journey for a degree. You can just be curious about the people around you, be curious about a hobby, be curious about a documentary, be curious about traveling and experiencing other cultures or places in the world. So, I mean, for me, it's not something I do, it's who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laura, I know one of your passions is also music. When you were in the service, you were part of a band. And so I'm fascinated to ask you about where your love of music comes from and some of your greatest memories playing for the band in the service.
Oh my goodness. Well, my grandparents were singers back in the day when they had radio shows. They sang Irish music. Music skipped a generation. My parents were not involved in music, but I always was. From third grade when they put that recorder in my hands and we had to play the recorder. But I played a bunch of different instruments, and it wasn't really until I enlisted in the Air Force, I didn't even know that there were Air Force bands. I joined as a radar scope operator, but I auditioned for a group called Tops in Blue and traveled around the world for 2 years, performing sort of like a USO tour and show. And then I auditioned for the Air Force band, and I traveled around the world with the Air Force band and was stationed in some beautiful places. Got to connect with people around the world, different communities in Europe and the Pacific. It's really been a wonderful journey and a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some of your favorite memories playing music in the service? Where have you been and where would you like to go in terms of a musical perspective?
Gosh, I loved being stationed in NATO in Belgium. I was in an international band, and what was so special about that is other countries from the NATO nations had musicians in this band. So it was just the most unique experience I've ever had serving with a diverse group of people playing big band music and traveling throughout Europe and France. I remember traveling to France and going to some festivals, going to some communities, and people just remembering American soldiers too, coming into those communities in France and just embracing all of us in NATO, just really having these warm welcomes and a love of music. It was the music that connected all of us together. I was even thinking about when I went with the band to places like Azerbaijan, and people we didn't speak the same language, but when I would sing a Mariah Carey song, they knew the lyrics. And so there was, that connection. Music brought us together.
Well, it brings the souls together, doesn't it? And you brought up Mariah Carey, Laura, and I have to tell you, my favorite Christmas song of all time is All I Want for Christmas Is You, right? So
that's a good one.
There you go. So, Laura, I know that building relationships and constructing sustainable relationships is also important to you and something that you help businesses do because not all businesses know how to build sustainable relationships. So I'm wondering your thoughts on building a roadmap that will allow businesses and organizations to build sustainable relationships?
Yeah, relationships take time, and you want to take time to build those relationships when things actually are going well. That's the perfect time to build relationships. The perfect time is now, right? Genuine relationships where you're not building the relationship to get something. You're building a relationship to give. And then when you're faced with uncertainty or challenges, that network you already have the relationships, connected. You already have them built and established, and you're nurturing those relationships over time so that you can connect people who might be able to help each other. That's when you can really tap into your network.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laura, I've got two more questions for you. The first is, I'm a staunch believer in it, that it's important in life to celebrate wins in life and always finding your inner center, no matter how busy you get. It's always important to reconnect with yourself, isn't it? So I'm curious, how do you celebrate your personal wins in life, and how do you reconnect with your inner center as well?
Yeah. So celebrating my wins isn't something I've always done. I can't say that I've done it well because I was a type A overachiever that was always in the rat race and stressed out. And a lot of times I would ignore my wins. I wouldn't acknowledge them, and it led to lack of fulfillment in my life. So now I'm really deliberate about celebrating those wins. I do have coaches for different parts of my life and my business that I want to grow and expand and my mindset. So my coaches and that team around me help to remind me to celebrate wins. We talk about them. I'm in mastermind groups where when we meet, we talk about one win that we are grateful for that week. So we're really deliberate with it. I share those wins with friends and my husband. And then what really brings me to home center is I have non-negotiable habits. Meditation is something that I do every single day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. I do prefer to carve out time and space in my home to do that. But if I am in a hurry, I just ask, God, the universe, my higher self, just for some peace and calm and focus and presence while I'm driving to an appointment or while I'm brushing my teeth. Because you can be meditative in your life too.
Yeah, there are certainly different forms of that, for sure. And, Laura, my final question for you this afternoon has to do with your own personal and professional legacy and how you want that to be defined.
Yeah, I want to make a difference in the world. I mean, I'm deeply engaged with the Unstoppable Foundation, and that is with building schools and providing medical care, clean water, education in the Masai Mara region of Kenya. So I've been involved with them very deeply since 2016. So I want to continue making a difference there. I'm really passionate about serving my fellow veterans. So I'm going back into organizations and helping people there. I want to take. I feel like I'm a teacher. That's why one of the reasons why I love to learn. I like to take complex ideas and kind of whittle it down and teach it in a way that's accessible to people and helps them create lives that they're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Laura, tell me, if people want to get connected with you with the great work that you do, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, if they go to stretchintosuccess.com, you'll find me there. My contact information, a contact me place, a place to book a one-on-one call. And even if you go to the hamburger at the top, you'll see my podcast too.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for engaging in conversation about leadership development and organizational leadership this afternoon. Your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I am so appreciative. Thank you so much for hosting.